district court orders the Corpus Christi city manager to unblock a settlement payment. The Attorney General is prohibiting Texas cities from illegally raising property taxes, and a Corpus Christi icon could be getting her own statue in downtown Corpus Christi. This is South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Thank you for joining me. It's Wednesday, August 19th. Hotel developers seeking payment for a $1.5 million settlement won a court order to have Corpus Christi City Manager Peter Zannoni lift a hold on the funds. Last week, officials paused payments connected to a settlement agreement between Elevate QOF and a Homewood Suites hotel. The 105th District Court found that the city's Type B board has independent statutory authority over the contracts and expenditures. A judge signed off on a temporary restraining order against Zannoni that bars him from, quote, continuing to freeze, withhold, delay, or obstruct, unquote, release of the funds or prevent city staff from doing so. The settlement, as approved by the Type B board last week, was to terminate an existing $2 million tax incentive agreement with Elevate and wire transfer $1.5 million in Type B funds to attorneys representing the company. Attorney General Ken Paxton has sent letters to over 100 different Texas cities, some of those in South Texas, to notify them that they are prohibited from raising property taxes above the no new revenue tax rate. This follows the Attorney General's investigation of over 1,000 cities across the state. Among the South Texas cities that received letters include Aransas Pass, Cotulla, La Villa, Mathis, Mission, Odom, Point Comfort, Port Isabel, Seadrift, Woodsboro, and Yorktown. The Corpus Christi Caller-Times reports that Farrah Fawcett could soon be honored with her own bronze statue along the downtown seawall. Fawcett, who died in 2009, was a Ray High School alumna best known for her work in the TV series Charlie's Angels. A memo outlining an agreement between private donors and the city would locate a statue with her likeness along a stretch between Shoreline Boulevard and Corpus Christi Bay. The document describes an about 600-pound statue that would stand at least 7 feet tall. A group referenced as Friends of Farrah Fawcett would commission the artwork and financially cover projects and then donate it to the city, according to the memo. The group would also be responsible for its maintenance. The City Council is expected to consider the agreement in its next meeting on August 25th. Speaking of City Council, they unanimously approved a $657,000 property purchase near the Hilliard Center on Tuesday. The building will serve as an extension of the venue. According to Tuesday's agenda, the Corpus Christi B Corporation would use the property for economic development related to purposes like tourism, public events, and/or parking. Valley Central News reports that a Starr County newborn calf is recovering after becoming the first confirmed New World screwworm case reported in the Rio Grande Valley. Rancher Lucio Gonzalez Jr. says the calf is now healthy and back with her mother and the rest of the herd. The calf was isolated after larvae were discovered in her navel. 45 infestations have been discovered in Texas since June. Only 4 of those remain active. The last reported case in Texas was on Sunday in Valverde County. The United States recently declined to lock in another 16 years of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. It's not the end of the agreement, but one trade expert told the Rio Grande Valley Business Journal that the pact has entered uncharted territory and is already reshaping business decisions in the area. Jorge Torres, president of Interlink Trade Services and a licensed customs broker, discussed the state of USMCA in a recent episode of the RGV Business Journal podcast.
Mexico has to rethink and say, okay, how can we become a strategic partner to the United States? How can we help them in national security and economic development? And until Mexico realizes that and they come to the table with proposals on how they can partner up with the United States, they're going to be successful.
That was Torres speaking with host Naxia Lopez Puente. USMCA first took effect in 2020, replacing the North American Free Trade Agreement. You can listen to the episode on the Rio Grande Valley Business Journal's website. The Rio Grande Valley Business Journal is in partnership with KEDT. In state news, Minnesota is suing Texas Governor Greg Abbott over the extradition of a federal immigration agent charged in a January shooting in Minneapolis. The Texas Newsroom's Lucia Vasquez reports.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison says Abbott has delayed the extradition of ICE agent Christian Castro. Castro is accused of shooting a man during an immigration enforcement operation and later lying about what happened. He was arrested in Texas in May and has remained jailed here. Under Texas law, Castro can only be held for a limited time while awaiting the governor's extradition warrant. Ellison says he could be released as early as next week.
Christian Castro could walk free from jail in Texas and flee justice in Minnesota, including by leaving the country.
The lawsuit asks a federal judge to force Abbott to sign the warrant and prevent Castro's release. Abbott's office declined to comment. I'm Luciel Vasquez in Houston.
Castro remains in custody at the Cameron County Jail. A hearing on the lawsuit was set for October 27th. Governor Abbott is calling on state lawmakers to ban federal workers from Texas public schools.
I'm also calling for legislation that will also put a total ban on H-1B workers in Texas public schools. Exactly 0 Texas public school employees should be here on H-1B visas.
Abbott earlier this year ordered a freeze of H-1B visa applications for state agencies and public universities. No other state has a ban on hiring workers with H-1B visas in public education. Carmelo Anthony's appeals hearing starts today in Collin County. KERA's Caroline Love has more.
Carmelo Anthony was convicted in June for stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Frisco high school track meet. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Anthony's new defense team filed motions for a new trial and to recuse Collin County Judge John Rhodes Jr. from the case. His attorneys argued the judge's strict rules for the courtroom and limited seating violated Anthony's Sixth Amendment right to a public trial. The case drew national attention over issues of race. Anthony is black and Metcalf was white. The hearings are scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday. I'm Caroline Love in Dallas.
Groups that oppose construction of a border wall to the Big Bend National Park and surrounding areas will take their message to a Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission meeting today. As KUT's Mose Buchel reports, opponents of the wall say the commission has a duty to stop state parkland from being used for the wall's construction.
They argue that the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission has the legal obligation under state law to deny access to work crews and stop construction inside Big Bend Ranch State Park and other state parks in far west Texas. That's separate from whatever happens in federally controlled Big Bend National Park. The coalition, including conservationists, ranchers, and law officers, plan to present a petition to the Parks and Wildlife Commission. They say the recent announcement of a pause on border wall construction inside Big Bend National Park does not change their message, as it does not guarantee the project won't restart in the national park and around it. I'm Mose Buchel in Austin.
A new analysis finds that the conditions inside the Texas Juvenile Justice Department's secure facilities continue to fail to meet the standards of the Department of Justice. In 2024, the DOJ deemed the juvenile lockups unconstitutional. Texas Public Radio's David Martin Davies has more.
The report Behind the Concrete Walls, Uncovering Conditions in Texas's 5 Youth Prisons shows that chronic staffing shortages contribute to unsafe conditions like violence in the state's Juvenile Justice Department's secure facilities. Brett Marfish is the Director of Youth Justice for Texas Appleseed and author of the report.
Not much has changed from the data we're able to see since the DOJ released their report showing that there were unconstitutional conditions in all 5 state secure lockups for youth.
Marfish said there are signs that the mental health needs of the children are not being met.
We're seeing youth that have more mental health needs go into the facility, so they have what's called adverse childhood experiences. For the youth that are entering, 52% have 4 or more ACEs. That's very high.
For the 2027 legislative session, the Sunset Advisory Commission is conducting a targeted limited scope review of the Texas Juvenile Justice Department, focused strictly on its regionalization duties and evaluating how effectively the agency prioritizes local juvenile systems over secure state facility commitments. I'm David Martin Davies in San Antonio.
And in sports, the Milwaukee Brewers set a franchise record Tuesday night in a 22-0 win over the Seattle Mariners. It was the largest margin of victory, with 21 of those runs crossing the plate over Milwaukee's final 4 innings. It was the biggest home shutout in 141 years, going all the way back to when the New York Giants defeated the Buffalo Bisons 24-0 in 1885. 2 teams have won with a 22-0 score in the year since, Pittsburgh in 1975 and Cleveland in 2004, but this is the first time that a home team has gotten a victory with that particular score. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.